Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, Derek got a fun and exciting episode for you guys today because I am playing the recently released Mega Man DXtreme or DXtreme, depending on how you want to say it. And interestingly enough, this is basically a modern remake of Mega Man Xtreme from the Game Boy Color, which in and of itself was like a demake or reimagining of Mega Man X on Super Nintendo. So this is basically a remake of a demake of an original game that you played on Super Nintendo back in the day, and that's definitely a mouthful and an absolutely wild concept. But I will say this thing 100% hits. Basically feels like a Game Boy Color game married to a Game Boy Advance game in all the best ways possible. It is a ground up new game, basically reimagining what Mega Man could be. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But when I say this is an entirely new game made from the ground up, it is in a brand new engine, has new storyline beats, reimagined and re-engineered bosses, and some overall level layout changes as far as I remember from playing the original Game Boy Color version. And this thing, if you're a Mega Man fan, is absolutely a must play. And if this doesn't seem familiar to you, definitely didn't play Mega Man X on Super Nintendo back in the day. And if somehow you didn't, I can't recommend. Definitely give that game a shot as well. But I love that fans do this for the Mega Man franchise because it's not like Capcom does a whole lot with Mega Man these days, unfortunately. Sure, there is a little bit in the pipeline, but Mega Man used to be one of the biggest franchise in the 8-bit and 16-bit and even 32-bit eras, and unfortunately after that kind of went on a little bit of a lull. Sure, we got Mega Man 9 and 10, but otherwise, the era of Mega Man being Capcom's biggest star has definitely been over for some years now. So leave it to fans to make new experiences for us to all enjoy, and we all win because of that. Now, I will say Mega Man Xtreme was always notorious for being maybe a little bit unfair and a little bit too difficult in some of the tightness of its jumps. I will say Mega Man DXtreme here, or DXtreme again, definitely changes those up to be slightly easier, but this game, like a good Mega Man 2D game, is not going to hold your hand in any way, shape, or form. It is absolutely going to take you into the back alley, mug you, and leave you for dead. I would say steal your quarters, but we're not talking about arcade games here. Steal your credits, and just be prepared that this is still Mega Man Hard, which in and of itself is a difficulty that is fair, but you absolutely have to read the screen. And just so you know, there is a lot of new story beats here, but for some of this I am actually cutting it up because according to the developer's itch page, there were some issues with the storyline and one particular word that YouTube was just upset about. And it isn't even a bad word. Just go ahead and read the YouTube updates on the itch.io page, and then you'll understand how difficult it is sometimes to actually make the most simple of videos on this platform. But I will say the new storyline beats here absolutely fit the game. All of the new art looks outstanding, and it really does feel like if the Game Boy Advance had more of a Game Boy Color aesthetic in its overall power, but still kept that Game Boy Advance aspect ratio and was able to put more sprites and more details on screen at the same time. I think that really is a good combination of both aesthetics because the overall color profile and color palette feels like it's adhering exactly to what you would expect to see on Game Boy Color, where the overall performance, the aspect ratio, and the amount of things you can put on screen at once seems to be more adhering to the Game Boy Advance specs. So it's basically not only are the developers reimagining and recreating a classic Mega Man game, but they're also basically creating a platform that never existed in the way to say that it's kind of like Game Boy Color Pro or Game Boy Advance Lite. And I always love projects like that kind of imagine if you could put these two things together, what would they be like? Well, like I said earlier, be prepared to die a lot in this one. It is absolutely difficult, but absolutely fair in its difficulty. This is the type of game, it's going to take you time to learn and master, but once you actually get better at it, that's what the Mega Man feedback loop is all about. You die over and over again until you learn all the patterns, and suddenly you feel like you're invincible in the game because you know exactly how to read the screen. But I will say it's been forever since I played Mega Man Xtreme, so definitely a little rough around the edges here on the new version. But leave me a comment down below and you tell me so far, what do you think about the overall aesthetic about this one? Because I absolutely love it, but I would be curious to hear what you guys think. Well, let's move into the first of two soundtrack samples because the music in Mega Man Xtreme and DXtreme is a 10 out of 10, and I'll be right back. Even the music in the game kind of feels like a mix between the Game Boy Color actual sound hardware and the Game Boy Advance sound hardware, because the Game Boy Advance always had a very muffled tone to it, and it probably is one of my least favorite sounding pieces of Nintendo hardware, where the Game Boy Color had that beep boop bop chiptune sort of thing going on, and kind of combining the two of them together really goes to drive home that idea that this is basically like an imaginary spec system that you're just going to play on your PC. And again, if you want to check it out, the link is in the description below. But just remember, timing is going to be crucially important here, because this game just really requires you to be able to do screen reads almost instantaneously. But you do get a decent amount of lives, and it is one of those things. It's going to require some memorization, some pattern recognition, and just some plain straight up practice. The nice thing is the game has a complete save feature, so every single time you get past a level, it's not like you need to beat it again when you sit down to play the game a second, third, or even fourth time. But just be prepared to die a lot and to understand every single enemy, every single boss, every single level has its own unique pattern and unique hook and core gameplay mechanic. And that really is what I love about this remake, kind of adhering to the original. Every single level is going to have something you haven't seen a previous level do. And of course, like any single Mega Man game, there's going to be a preferred route to run through the game and deal with all the bosses. But honestly, I will leave that for you to discover. And as we go into this room here, again, just take a look at the colorways on display. You don't have that many colors on screen. You have blue, you have green, orange, with a little bit of white and black and shades of gray. Definitely seems like a Game Boy Color palette, but you have the performance, sprite size, and overall aspect ratio of the Game Boy Advance, and really when you put those two things together, you get a very special experience. And I think that was a really good design ethos to actually make this game from, because you could have totally been the developers and said, we have unlimited horsepower to remake a 2D Game Boy Color game. Let's just absolutely make this thing seem like something that would have come out like the PlayStation 2 era. But they actually showed restraint, and a lot of time restraint and constraint, two different words, actually aid in making an artistic piece, because when you actually are told that you have to work within some sort of artificial limit, that's when creativity truly comes out. You will see there, I got nailed by those spotlights. Definitely a very close jump as far as what you're going to hit the light or not. You'll see here, if you move just fast enough, for the most part, you can get through this. But again, I love that these levels all have their own hooks and all unique gameplay elements. Well, I will say this one definitely has what amounts to having a Mega Man Kaizo block in a game. And that really is fun, because sometimes the game will troll you and kill you just to remind you you have to pay attention, and maybe rushing forward isn't the smartest thing in the world. Because I just got crushed by that block there, and you're going to see it happen again in just a moment. But it's always funny when you forget that's coming up. Let's do one more soundtrack sample, because again, the music here is a fun combination. I'll be right back with a bit more. So let's do the totally imaginary, not actually reviewing the game review rundown from Video Game Esoterica. As far as the idea and concept of this, I absolutely love it, remaking and improving on a game that I'm sure even most Mega Man fans forgot existed, combining together both the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy Advance aesthetic at the same time, and not just letting the graphics run wild with all the horsepower in the world. The overall control scheme, the lack of latency, the fun music and fun gameplay, and all the new story beats as well as new boss patterns just absolutely add up to being one of the best Mega Man games I've played in some years now. And honestly, that means every Mega Man fan wins out there. So if you want to play this one, the link's in the description below. And if you never played a Mega Man game before, one, I'd be curious as to why you found my channel, but two, this is a really fun place to start. And if you have played this one, leave me a comment down below and tell me your thoughts, because it's not every day we get new Mega Man games, and this one is so remade, so refreshed, and so reconcepted that it really does feel like a brand new Mega Man game that you've never played before. And since Capcom really isn't in a rush to give us a ton of Mega Man games, you have to depend on the fan game community to do it for us, and the developers here of Mega Man DXtreme or DXtreme have absolutely delivered on every single thing they promised when they were talking about releasing this, and I love that it's here. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.